الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. We will continue on inshallah ta'ala in this Dawra Fiqh Siyam, in the Dawra Fiqh Siyam, to learn the rulings and the matters associated to fasting the month of Ramadan or fasting in general. And I just kindly ask the brothers, inshallah, that you can just keep the noise level down, please, so we can focus, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. And I also want to apologize, there was an issue with the recording from yesterday's dars, so unfortunately it was lost, but hopefully, there was only about 21 masail we covered, so hopefully it's not that much. Anyhow, so we're carrying on regarding a sick person during the time or during the month of Ramadan. So if there's a person who is sick, if there is a person that is sick and then recovers and is able to make up the missed fasts but does not do so before he dies, then money should be taken from his estate to pay fidya on behalf of the days that he missed. But if any of his relatives want to fast on his behalf, then that is okay, because of a narration in Sahihain, in Bukhari and Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever dies owing some fasts, let his heirs fast on his behalf. Okay, moving forward to the elderly. So the elderly who have reached the age where it's a little bit old, or they're too old of age, it's too old of age where they have a very big difficulty in fasting and they struggle in doing so, then they have the same hukum as one who has an ongoing sickness without hope for recovery. So for every day that they do not fast, then they must pay fidya, which we discussed yesterday. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu used to say, concerning the ayah, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةٌ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ, for those who can only fast with extreme difficulty, compensation can be made by feeding a needy person for every day not fasting. And this ayah hasn't been abrogated, he says, radiallahu anhu, rather it refers to the old man and woman who cannot fast, so they should feed a poor person for every day that they do not fast. As for those people who are senile, shabab, keep the noise level down so we can focus, please, brothers. As for those people, the elderly, who become senile, and senile means they no longer can differentiate between what's wajib, what's this and that, and what they're really doing. Okay, they're not all there. Then they become like a person who is not sane. Okay, someone who is insane, they're no longer mukallaf. So it is not upon them to fast because they are not mukallafin anymore. And their family doesn't have to do anything on their behalf because they are not mukallafin. They are not of sound mind. Okay? However, if they are sometimes of sound mind, then they should obviously fast at those times. And when they are not, then nothing is upon them. Okay? Next point. As for those Muslims who are fighting in jihad against the enemy or are being besieged by an enemy, if fasting were to make them too weak, then they are allowed to break their fast even if they are not traveling. Okay, if they need to break their fast before fighting, they can break their fast, and this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed in His religion, Jalla Jalal. Rasulullah says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was instructing the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, إِنَّكُمْ مُسَبِّحُونَ عَدُوِّكُمْ وَالْفِطْرُ أَقْوَى لَكُمْ فَأَفْطِرُوا. The Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that to his companions, that tomorrow morning you are going to meet your enemy. And not fasting will make you stronger, so do not fast. And that is in Sahih Muslim. And this is also the opinion that was preferred by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And the scholars of Dimashq also issued fatwas of this nature when they are being attacked by the Tatar, the Mongolians. Next point. If someone is not fasting due to a very obvious reason, like there's somebody who is ill, and his illness is apparent on him, so he has the concession to break his fast, then there's no need for him to hide his futur. So he can eat and drink in public if the reason why he's fasting is apparent. Okay? Next point. Just like any other amal in Islam, the niyyah is one of the conditions for the siyam to be correct. And for a siyam, or for a fast that is fard, or it's obligatory, then the niyyah must be made before Fajr. It must be made at some point during the night. So even if it's a few moments before Fajr, then that is fine, inshallah. However, for a fast that is a nafilah, or just a sunnah, then you do not have to make the niyyah before Fajr. We have authentic hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, one time he entered upon Aisha, his wife radiallahu anha, her mother, and he asked her if there was any food for breakfast, and then she said no. So when he said, okay, if that's the case, then I am fasting. And that was because after Fajr, he had never did anything which breaks the fast, so he was able to make his niyyah to begin fasting after the point, after the time. What is niyyah exactly? Niyyah is a resolution of the heart. In other words, to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Okay? You do not have to make the niyyah stated verbally, and to do so is a bid'ah, it is innovation. The next point, whoever intends also they make a niyyah to break their fast during the day, but do not do so physically. Okay, there is khilaf between the ulama regarding this. Do they actually, is their fast invalidated or is it correct? Some scholars from the Mu'asirin that chose this opinion, Shaykh Muhammad Salih al-Munajjid, Farrajallahu anhu, he said the most correct opinion is that a person hasn't broken their fast, even if they have intended to do so. However, what's more apparent to be the correct opinion, which was chosen by Shaykh Sulaiman Alwan, Farrajallahu anhu, is that if someone intends to break their fast and they haven't actually physically done something to do it, their siyam is nullified. As soon as they intended it, their siyam is nullified. Because we know from the famous hadith, what's the famous hadith? إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. The deeds are according to the niyyah. So if somebody made the niyyah to do something, okay, then it's binding upon them. The ulama have consensus, there is ijma' that apostasy or ridda, nasallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it invalidates the intention and there's no dispute, okay? So if there's a Muslim, he becomes a murtad, wal-'iyadhu billah, during the day in Ramadan, his siyam is batil. And when it comes to the niyyah for Ramadan, it's not required that somebody has to make a niyyah every single night, okay? Because knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it is pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science, there's not much to it. So one could intend to make siyam for the entire month of Ramadan, okay, in one shot. If they have some type of other, such as a travel or illness throughout the month, which they are going to break their fast due to, then once they are going to resume their fasting, they must renew their niyyah when doing so. Some of the scholars have stated that in the case of specific nafil fasts, such as Arafah or Ashura, then it's better to be on the safe side and to make the intention the night before. Another point, if a person embarks on an obligatory fast, such as making up for a day that he missed in Ramadan, so at another time in the year, they miss a day in Ramadan, they're making it up afterwards, okay? They are not allowed to break their fast during the day. Okay, you know, if you're fasting a sunnah and like just a fast that's a voluntary fast, and for example, someone invites you to a walima, you're allowed to break your fast for the greater maslahah and attend the walima, if that's just a sunnah fast. But if it's a fast that is obligatory in nature, like you're repeating a day that you missed in Ramadan, or it is like a kafara, okay, then it's not permissible for you to just break your fast for such an excuse. You have to treat it like it would be the day during Ramadan. Okay. If a person cannot find anything to break their fast with, then they should have the intention in their heart to break their fast. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate our Muslim brothers and sisters who are suffering from hunger, and this is applicable to them. Farajallahu anhum. When someone becomes certain that Fajr has entered, and Fajr enters at the appearance of al-khayt al-abyad, then they must refrain from all of the mufattirat. Everything that nullifies the siyam, it must immediately be stopped. Okay, that's having food, drink, or sexual desire or engagement. That must be stopped immediately at dukhul al-fajr, once Fajr becomes apparent. Okay? And once Maghrib enters and the entire disk of the sun disappears below the horizon, then the person may break their fast. So as long as someone's certain, they're certain that Fajr has entered, they must stop immediately. As long as someone is certain that Maghrib has entered, they can break their fast. The idea of being on the safe side and having like an imsak written on the calendar where you have to stop food and drink 10 or 20 minutes before Adhan al-Fajr, this is not from the Sunnah, and this is a form of bid'ah, which is contrary to the Sunnah actually, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to enjoin delaying the suhoor to like right before Fajr. Likewise, also if someone wants to, they know for certain that the sun is set, but they're going to wait extra 5 minutes to be safe, this is also not from the Sunnah as well. Okay? As for the Muslims who live in cities with a distinct alteration of day and night, like the majority of the globe, then they have to fast no matter how long the day is. Like sometimes in the summer, we had, I believe in the past, 21-hour days where we were fasting, and some people, they found it, they decided to make a fatwa from their own head saying that it's too difficult for us, so we're going to fast Tawqit Mecca. We're going to fast according to the time of Mecca. Okay, this is nonsense. As long as we have valid night and day, then we have to fast according to our times, no matter how long it is. Inshallah, the ajr is ala qadr al-mashaqqa. As much hardship you find, you will be rewarded more. However, in some places in the globe, there is no distinction between night and day, such as very far south and north. In this case, then they would follow the nearest locality that has distinction. Next point we will be talking about is stuff that breaks the fast. Okay? So first and foremost, apart from hayd and nifas, which is menstruation and postnatal bleeding, which is applicable to women, other things that can break the fast are only considered to do so when three conditions apply. Okay? It is when somebody is aliman, they are knowing that it breaks the fast, okay, they're not ignorant. When they are dhakiran, they are remembering that they're fasting. Okay, they are aware of what they're doing and that they're fasting and they haven't forgotten. And muridan, they wish or they desire to do it out of their free will and are not forced to do it. So if one of these three isn't there, then the person, obviously, their fast is not invalidated, and inshallah, they're not sinful either. For example, if somebody does not know that something breaks the fast, and he does it, okay? Even though he is aware he is fasting, he knows what he's doing, and he is not forced to do it, okay, then their fast is not nullified. Likewise, let's say the person, they know that it breaks the fast and they are desiring to do it, but they forgot their fasting. Okay, that does not break the fast. Or if the person knows that it breaks the fast, knows that it's fasting, however he does not want to do it, meaning he's forced to do it, then it does not break the fast. Okay, next point. So, among the things that break the fast. So overall, the reference that I'm using here, it goes through lots of different examples and we will touch on a bunch of them. But just to summarize, to give ourselves a very good understanding of what breaks the fast and what doesn't, okay, is food and drink, what provides nutrition, okay, food and drink and their alternatives, or engaging in sexual desire. Okay, these are the things that overall as a core is what nullifies the fast, alright? That being said, many other things which are talked about and alluded to and mentioned, okay, I feel like it's kind of redundant, but we'll touch on them anyways, but they do not break the fast, okay? So, sometimes people, they ask, oh, akhi, I had some phlegm or some saliva or some mucus in my throat and then I swallowed it. Does that break the fast? Very simply, does anybody think that mucus and saliva and phlegm or whatever, is that food or drink? Would somebody desire to break their fast on that? Is this? So it's kind of unnecessary, even though the ulama, they have mentioned that. But just to make things more concise, I just thought I'd mention just that general, those general points. Anyhow, among the things that break the fast, okay, so injections that are given to replace food and drink, okay, or medications that are given to replace food or drink, like injections, needles, or whatnot, those, they provide a nutritional value to the body, those nullify the fast. If there is an injection that is given, and it's just some type of medication, and it does not provide any nutritional value, okay, does not replace food or drink, such as like penicillin or insulin or tonics or vaccinations or the like, they do not break the fast, regardless of whether they are intramuscular or intravenous. So whether the needle goes into the like the fat or into the muscle, and it's just injected under the surface of the skin or whatnot, or if it goes into the vein directly, neither one of them will break the fast. Some of the scholars say that, but to be on the safe side, one can try to take the injections at night. A kidney dialysis, okay, that's where the blood is taken out, cleaned and filtered, and then put back with some type of chemicals or nourishing substances for the body, like sugars or salts. This is considered to break the fast because the body is getting nourishment from there, okay? Stuff like eye drops, ear drops, having a dental procedure, a tooth extracted, treating wounds, all these kind of things that sometimes people they question, none of those break the fast. Using a puffer for somebody who has asthma, or somebody who has an oxygen tank, okay? Does this break the fast? No, you're inhaling air, okay? So breathing oxygen, inhaling air does not break the fast, even if it's pressurized in a canister. Having a blood sample taken, okay? Having blood work done does not break the fast, okay? And even there is a big khilaf between the ulama, does hijama break the fast or not, wet cupping? Some scholars say yes, some scholars say no. It's a very big khilaf amongst the ulama. The more correct opinion, wallahu a'lam, is that performing hijama does not break the fast. And there is a hadith which mentions that Rasulullah, this hadith is authentic, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he himself did hijama while he was sa'im, while he was fasting, okay? A medicine that must be used by gargling, it doesn't break the fast as long as nothing is swallowed, okay? And even if like there is some type of like taste in the person's mouth, or like sometimes they get a filling at the dentist or something, they have that taste in their mouth, okay, that taste doesn't break the fast as long as nothing has reached the throat. Okay, likewise, having ears syringed or nose drops or nasal sprays, these things do not break the fast as long as one can avoid anything reaching the throat, or even tablets that are placed underneath the tongue they dissolve and they're used to treat some type of medical conditions. They do not break the fast as long as you avoid swallowing anything that may reach the throat. Anything inserted into the private organ of a male or female, okay, maybe more so for females, for the purpose of medical examinations, imagery, some type of treatment, whatever the case may be, a urethra, or whatever it may be, these things, they do not, or if it's like a medical dye for some imaging to be done, or even if it's like a solution for cleansing the bladder or whatnot, these things, they do not nullify the fast either, okay? Likewise, using a siwak or a toothbrush, it also does not nullify the siyam. Okay, there is certain siwaks where they actually have like flavor added to them. Okay, it's like mint or strawberry. Those ones you should avoid them. Okay, just use natural siwak, and using it doesn't nullify the siyam. Okay, even if you're using it and then you've got some saliva build up in your mouth and whatnot, that doesn't nullify the siyam. If pieces of the siwak break off, and you should spit them out. If you swallowed it by mistake, then your siyam is fine as well. And likewise, toothpaste, like the toothpaste that we have nowadays, if somebody can manage to use it without swallowing any of it, okay, nothing reaches the throat, then their siyam is also valid. It does not break the fast. However, personally, I would, and the ulama, they also mention, it may be best to avoid using toothpaste during the day because the taste of it is very, very strong. And it also, many toothpastes, they make the mouth very dry. So it can make it a lot more difficult on you during your siyam, or a little bit annoying to deal with. So maybe it's best using toothpaste during the hours where you're not fasting, during the day. Okay. So, likewise, using medications absorbed through skin, like creams and patches and whatnot, those do not nullify the siyam. If somebody is mubtala' be smoking cigarettes, okay, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from that. If they need to take a nicotine patch, in order to prevent them from having those cravings so they can get through Ramadan without having that as a fitna, then it is permissible for them to use it and it does not break the fast. Okay? Using a laparoscope, or it's an instrument that's inserted into the body, okay, through a small incision. Sometimes it's for imaging, sometimes it's for like a surgery or whatnot. Okay, these things do not break the fast, or a biopsy, or taking samples from some of the organs, or a gastroscopy, as long as it's not accompanied by some other solutions or substances with it, or the introduction of any instrument or medication to the brain of the spinal column. All these things, as long as it's not providing some type of nourishing solution, they do not break the fast, okay? Next point, if someone breaks their fast by doing something haram, for example, like obviously food and drink during the day is haram, but if somebody breaks their fast by doing something that's like haram at all times, like instead of breaking their fast by drinking water, they break it by drinking khamr instead. Or instead of breaking their fast, they break their fast by doing zina, then without a doubt this is a very grave sin. It's even a lot worse than somebody simply just breaking their fast on food or water. The person who does so has to make a very sincere repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and try to do more nafil deeds and fasting and acts of worship, hoping that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy upon him for doing such evil. Okay? And obviously they have to make up that day, and just depending on how they break their fast, there may be a kafara with it as well. Okay? We already mentioned it, but for the one who forgets and eats and drinks, okay, and like in the hadith reported by Bukhari, then let him complete his fast, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him that. Okay, so if somebody by mistake, they took a sip of water and they realized they're fasting, then their fast is fine. However, if you see someone during the day, you watch a brother, he walks into the masjid and he's fasting and he goes to the water fountain and he starts drinking, you should definitely stop, not say, he forgot, let him take his drink, haram, miskin. No, you should actually stop him, okay? Stop him because he shouldn't be, even though he's not sinful for it. Can I take the glasses? Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay, so you should stop him. Doesn't mean just because he forgot that he has a free pass to keep on going and you should just have mercy upon him. No, you stop him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Okay, assist one another in goodness and righteousness, and do not cooperate in sin and transgression. As for those who need to break their fast in order to save somebody's life, maybe somebody is drowning, or whatever the case may be, and they have to do something in order to save somebody's life, and obviously in that instance they are permitted to break their fast, because saving the life of an individual takes precedence over completing your fast. Okay? If a person is obliged to fast during the day in Ramadan, however he deliberately has intercourse during the day in Ramadan of his own free will, whether they penetrate from the front or back passage, excuse the terms, but it is for the sake of knowledge, or whether inzal occurs or not, whether the male ejaculates or not. As long as penetration took place from the front or from the back, then their siyam is batil, and there is a kafara for it, as we have in the hadith, where a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. A man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and said, I am destroyed. And Rasulullah asked him, what happened? And he said, I had intercourse with my wife in Ramadan. Then Rasulullah asked him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can you free a slave? That's the first degree of the kafara. Can you free a slave? The man said no. Then he asked again, can you fast for 2 consecutive months? Meaning 2 months non-stop, 60 days non-stop. Then the man said no. That's the second degree of the kafara. If you cannot free a slave, then you have to fast 2 consecutive months. Then Rasulullah asked him after he couldn't do that, he said, can you feed 60 poor people? That's the third degree. Then the man said no. Then Rasulullah said, sit down. Then after a while, or after some time rather, a huge basket came containing dates, and it was brought to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then Rasulullah asked, where's the man who asked? Or he said, or in this narration it says, that he said to the man who asked the question, is that come give this as sadaqah. Okay, he gave him that basket, give this as sadaqah. Then the man said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that there is no poorer family than mine between the 2 plains of Medina, or the 2 plains of Medina. Then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he laughed so much that his back teeth became visible sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, go take it to your family and eat. Okay, this is in Bukhari, Muslim, and Abu Dawud. A very beautiful hadith shows us the etiquette and the ta'amul of Rasulullah with the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. Okay, so the same ruling applies in the case of intercourse from the back passage, or if it's zina, wal'ayadu billah, or homosexuality or bestiality, all this evilness, wal'ayadu billah, nasallallahu alayhi wa sallam. However, these are much further in grave sins in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the ithim is magnified and multiplied because it's done during Ramadan. So if a person does something like this, okay, then they have to make a sincere tawbah to Allah and offer the kafara. And if the person nullifies his fast by this method, multiple days, let's say they did it 3 times in the month, then they have to make up those 3 days of siyam. They have to make tawbah, of course, and they have to make up 3 kafaras for what they have done. Okay, every time they break their fast by that method, a kafara is due. And if somebody tries to have some trickery done where he has extreme desire and he wants to do that, he wants to have a relationship with his wife, but he wants to play some, like Ashab al-Sabt, try to play a trick and say, you know what, I'm not going to go approach her right away, I'm going to go have some food or drink first. So I break my fast by food and drink, and then you're going to go do that? No, that does not work. Okay, that is trickery, that does not work. That's even more serious of a sin, because you're trying to play around with the ahkam of Allah and trick Allah, wal-'ayadu billah. Okay, so the person would still have to make up for that day, make tawbah, and definitely pay the kafara. Next point. When it comes to some minor affectionate actions like kissing, hugging, embracing, touching, repeatedly looking at one's wife or whatnot, if a man is able to control himself and the woman is able to control herself, then that is permissible to do. There's nothing wrong with it. And Aisha, she narrates radiyallahu anha that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to kiss his wives while he was fasting and embrace them, but he had the greatest mastery over his desire among you. And this hadith is muttafaqun alayhi in Bukhari and Muslim. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was extremely good at controlling himself and his desire, and he used to kiss his wives during the day, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if somebody knows that they have a strong desire, they cannot control themselves, okay, then it is not permissible for him to do so, or for her to do so, because then you're approaching something that's haram. So if something is wajib to do, which is obviously not break your fast, then the means that you have to do, or the means that become incumbent upon you to do so, become wajib as well. Okay, so that being said, you have to take the right means to avoid breaking your fast, and if you know you cannot control your desire, then you have to avoid all of those things. Okay. The next point. If the morning comes, meaning Fajr has entered, and a person is in the state of janaba, or the person, or a woman, is in the state of hayd, like she never made a ghusl from hayd or from nifas yet. Okay, so they're in a state where they have al-hadath al-akbar, the major impurity, and they haven't made ghusl and Fajr enters. Is the fast invalidated? Do they have to make ghusl before Fajr? What do you say? No, they do not. No, they do not have to make ghusl before Fajr enters. Okay? If the person, they were on janaba, or a woman on al-hadath al-akbar, she finished her hayd or nifas, and they never made ghusl yet, and Fajr entered, la haraj, there's nothing wrong with that. But obviously, if it means that you're going to make salah in the jama'ah, then it's obviously better to have shower before then, make ghusl before then, for the sake of the prayer. Okay. If a person experiences a wet dream while they're sleeping, okay, and they wake, and it's during the day, they wake up and they experience a wet dream, does that nullify their fast? No, it does not. Okay? According to ijma' al-ulama, consensus, that it does not break his fast, and they should complete their fast, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if a man, okay, he experiences inzal, he does ejaculation during the day in Ramadan because of something he could have refrained from, okay, something under his control, such as touching or the shameful habit, nasallallahu al-afiyah, or repeatedly looking at women, okay, they must repent to Allah and fast for the rest of the day. It doesn't mean because their siyam was broken, they can just eat and drink. No, they have to still make imsak ala ta'am wa sharab for the rest of the day, but they also have to make up that fast later on. Okay, but do they have to make up the kafara? You have to make up the kafara?
No.
No, kafara is only for intercourse, or it's alternative, it's parables from the back passage, zina wa na'ayadu billah, and that's stuff that we have mentioned. But if something else, like below that, okay, from touching or a shameful habit, or keep on looking at haram, and that causes him to release his fluid, then this is obviously haram, and he must have refrained from that, but he has to make up that day and make tawbah, but there is no kafara upon them. If a person engages in these things, but no ejaculation takes place, then they must repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they haven't broken their fast, so they do not need to make it up. Okay, obviously we want to stay away from all of these evil things that provoke desire, and we should repel all of them during the day in Ramadan. Okay? Because our siyam is very dear to us, so we want to maximize our ajr. We don't want to be fasting and only getting thirst and hunger from our siyam. We want to be actually benefiting and being rewarded for the siyam. Next point. If someone emits madi, and that's prostatic fluid or seminal fluid, or wadi, which is kind of like semen, but it comes out with the urine, or they release mani, which is semen, but it's due to certain illness or a medical condition, there's no sensation accompanying it, or nothing really causing it to happen, okay, it just happens naturally and they do not even feel it, then this does not break the fast. None of it does break the fast, okay? Vomiting. Does vomiting break the fast? No. Vomiting does not break the fast, whether it's done intentionally or unintentionally. The more correct opinion is that either way it does not break the fast. However, you shouldn't re-swallow anything back. Okay? If you do by mistake or unintentionally, or because there's food stuck in your teeth or something, then the fast is not, if it's done by mistake or unintentionally, then it's not broken. Okay, but if you're able to spit out the food, but you do not, you swallow it, then you have broken your fast. The next point, and this I think many people, they experience this, and it becomes like a waswasa type of issue, okay? When somebody rinses their mouth, maybe during wudu or something, okay? And they spit out water, the remaining moisture or wetness that is left behind, okay? Does that, okay, if you have to stop yourself from swallowing that? No. Because the mouth by default or by nature is moist. There's wetness already there. Okay, that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it. There's saliva in the mouth. So you spit out the water there, and whatever moisture or wetness that is left behind after spitting out, okay, does not affect your fast. You don't have to keep spitting 10 times and putting a Kleenex on your tongue and all this kind of nonsense that sometimes brothers they fall into out of waswas. It's not needed. You spit out the water, alhamdulillah, you can move on. A nosebleed. Somebody has a nosebleed. Does it break the fast? Of course not. Okay? If somebody's gums are bleeding after brushing or using siwak. Obviously, it's not permissible. They should not swallow the blood. They have to spit it out, and inshallah, that does not break the fast. If some of the blood happened to enter the throat by accident, and they don't mean for it to happen, then there's no worry. You always find this. So if something's happening by mistake or by accident, then inshallah, there's nothing upon them, inshallah. If vomit rises into the throat and goes back down to the stomach without them intending for this to happen, then the fast is still valid as well. Okay? Is it permissible to taste food without swallowing it?
No.
Yes, no, maybe so? Yeah? Some ulama said yes, it's permissible. Some say it's makruh, it's disliked. Okay? Because of the risk that the fast may be broken. But it is permissible if one were to taste food without swallowing. Okay, for example, you're trying to make a purchase, you're trying to test some type of food product, but you need to taste it. Okay? I know it might be very difficult to do in practice. Okay, but it is permissible if you can prevent yourself from swallowing it. Alright? Or if they're cooking and they want to make sure the salt or whatnot is just right. Okay, it's permissible as long as they do not swallow anything. Even though ulama that it's makruh to do so. Okay. How about if one inhales like water vapor or dust or smoke or like some fly comes into his mouth by mistake? Does that break the fast?
No.
It does not break the fast either, okay? So these things that somebody cannot avoid, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. You do not have to worry, inshallah, the fast is not affected. How about if somebody, they're crying and the tears reach their throat, because you know how the whole anatomy is all connected. If the tears reach somebody's throat, does that break the fast? No, it does not break the fast, okay. Or if somebody's using henna or the kuhil or the oil or something, some on their hair or their whatever, okay, and they detect the taste of it in their throat, it does not break the fast either. Or if somebody's using some creams to moisturize or soften the skin and they kind of detect the taste of it. Sometimes you can get the taste of a fragrance in your mouth or something. Okay, it does not break the fast. Okay, obviously we're not purposely trying to ingest those things, but if you experience that, your fast is okay. Likewise, perfume or bakhur doesn't break the fast, but sometimes people they put the bakhur right under their beard or their face and they inhale the smoke directly. That you should just not do that. But if there's bakhur lit in the masjid or something and you happen to go past where the fumes are, that's completely fine, does not break the fast, okay? How about smoking? Does smoking cigarettes break the fast?
Yes.
Smoking, without a doubt, breaks the fast, according to the majority of scholars. Okay, and either way, it cannot be used as an excuse to not fast. Somebody like, you know what, I'm addicted to smoking, that's for Allah al-afiyah, so I cannot fast. How can a sin be an excuse? You're saying you have to sin so you cannot fast? No, of course not. Okay? Next point. Is it permissible to swim while you're fasting?
If the water gets in your mouth.
Yes, you can swim. Some ulama they say is disliked because of the probability of water reaching the throat. But by default it's permissible, but you have to avoid swallowing any water. Okay? The next point. If somebody eats or drinks or they have sexual relationship and they think that it's still night, but they haven't realized that it's Fajr, is their fast valid or not? Is it valid? Is it valid? You're eating, you're having the coffee, and you're enjoying it so much, and somebody's like, what are you doing, Akhi? It's already Fajr. Is your siyam batil or is it sahih? It's sahih. Because it's a mistake, right? Like the same underlying factor. A mistake or forgetfulness, it's overlooked or it's forgiven. Okay, but as soon as you come to know, you must stop immediately. You don't say, okay, just one last sip. No, you stop right away, alright? Now,
what if, let's say, the back comes on and you have water in your mouth, you spit or do you?
yes, so there's some khilaf, some people they think that you're allowed to, according to a hadith, okay, there is dispute about its authenticity. The more correct opinion of Wallahu A'lam is that it's da'if. Okay, so some people say you can finish whatever food you have. And some people, they even exaggerate a little bit. You can finish your plate. Okay, no, you cannot do that. As soon as Fajr hits, according to the more correct opinion, you must completely abstain from all mufattirat. Okay? Yes. So if there's water in your mouth and you hear, if there's food in your mouth and water, drink, the person's engaging in a relationship, with their spouse and they hear adhan, or they know, for example, 6 a.m. on the dot is Fajr, and they see the clock hit 6, they must stop immediately. Okay?
Do they have to spit it out?
Do they have to?
Do they have to spit it?
Yes. Yeah. Na'am akhi. No, you should spit it out in that case. As soon as the Fajr time comes in, khalas. You cannot take more water and try to wash it down and stuff. Khalas, it's Fajr time now. Now Siyam started, so you must stop immediately. You have to remove it, yes. To remove it. How about the opposite? So a person breaks his fast, they're waiting in the masjid, they think it's Maghrib time, and they break their fast, but they realize, you know what, it's not Maghrib yet. Is your Siyam sahih or no? Is it sahih? Is it batil? Did they break their fast? They have to repeat the day?
If you stop eating and cheese, then you can still.
Okay, so if somebody did it likewise, once again, the same hukum. If they did it by mistake, then inshallah their fast is still valid, but once they come to know, if somebody tells them, excuse me, Ya akhi, why are you having dates? It's not Maghrib yet, and they stop immediately, then their fast is okay, it's valid, and they do not have to make up that fast. And this is the opinion chosen by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. And brothers and sisters, just keep in mind this hadith from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله وضع عن أمتي الخطأ والنسيان وما استكرهوا عليه رواه ابن ماجه والبيهقي, which translates to that Ibn Abbas narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven my ummah for mistakes and forgetfulness and what they are forced to do. Okay, so keep this as a qa'idah in your mind. If it's a mistake or forgetfulness or it's against your will, then these things do not affect your fast. Okay? By mistake you swallowed water in the wudu. By mistake. Does not affect your fast. By mistake, or you forgot you took water. Does not affect your fast. Or some evil person, they're forcing you to drink during the day in Ramadan, does not break your fast. Okay. Quickly, I know that we had, alhamdulillah, one of the sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her and reward her, she did a dawrah for the sisters on ahkam related to siyam for women in specific, and she did it and she actually repeated it a second time. Allah yaziyah khair wa barak fiha. We're going to just cover, just because that's part of the reference that I'm using, we'll just cover it because many of us, maybe we have wives, maybe they never attended it, you have sister, you have daughter, maybe during Ramadan they ask you a question, so it's good for you to have the ilm so you can be able to help them, okay? So, if a woman has reached the age of maturity, but she is too shy to tell anyone, so she doesn't fast, okay? She has to repent and make up the day she missed. Okay, sometimes, a girl, she's too shy. She reached maturity, but she's too shy to say now she has to fast or to expose that, so she doesn't. Okay, and she goes unnoticed. Okay, she has to make up those days, and she has to make tawbah from doing so. Some ulama, they said that she also has to pay expiation for delaying her fast. Okay. Allahu a'lam, both paying the expiation part, there's khilaf, but she has to make up the fast and make tawbah. And likewise, if it could be also a woman, she's shy, maybe among some certain family members, and she's on her cycle during the month, so she actually fasts with her family out of shyness to break her fast in front of them, or to say she's not fasting. Okay, likewise, she has to make up those days, because she's not allowed to fast in that state. Okay? If a woman does not know exactly how many days she has missed, she should fast until she is fairly certain that she has made up the day she has missed. Okay? When it comes to the siyam, we know that when it comes to a voluntary fast, the woman is supposed to take permission from her husband before she has a voluntary fast. Okay? However, when it comes to the fast that is wajib, such as Sawm Ramadan, then there is no permission required. Okay? And obviously, if a woman is experiencing her cycle or any fast, and then she becomes tahir, then she has to make the intention before Fajr so she can perform her siyam. And if she is at a time where she does not know if she is tahir or not, then she can, some ulama they say, like how from the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, they would, in the time of the Sahaba, they would insert a piece of cotton or something to see if it comes out clean. If so, then they know that they are tahir and they would fast. If they still see some bleeding or bleeding occurs again, then they would stop fasting. Okay? Whether the blood is a flow or just spotting, because it breaks the fast if it's coming at the time of the period, especially if it has the symptoms of it. Okay. However, if a woman feels symptoms of her cycle, but she does not actually have any bleeding yet, then her fast is valid and she does not have to make up that day later. If a woman, she knows, she calculates her cycle and she knows that the next day she's going to experience it, that doesn't mean that she can wake up the next day not fasting. She must have the intention to fast and wake up to fast, and once she actually experiences it, then she would break her fast. Okay, not until she actually sees the blood there. Next point, is it permissible for women or sisters to take some type of medication or some type of method in order to delay the hayd so they can fast the whole month of Ramadan? Is that allowed to do? Okay, they say even that you can, back in the days if you boil, I don't know Allahu A'lam if this works or not, you boil siwak and you drink it like a tea and it's supposed to akhir al-hayd, Allahu A'lam. Is that permissible to do? The ulama say it's permissible, but it's permissible to do if there's no harm associated to the body in doing so. Okay, but some ulama said it's makruh. And that the sister, the female, she should just accept the qadr of Allah. That's the sunnah of Allah in the female that He created, Jalla Jalaluhu. So she should just accept the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not do that. However, if there is no harm done from taking such medication or whatever the case, remedy may be, then it is okay, but some scholars say it's makruh. Okay. The next point, istihada, which is a non-menstrual bleeding that a woman experiences. So it's other than period, it's not her period, but it's bleeding from that private area. It does not have any effect on the validity of the fast. Next point, if a pregnant woman miscarries and the fetus is formed or discernible, or a part of the body is identifiable, like the fetus actually begins to resemble the creation of a human, then the blood that comes is considered nifas. It's considered that she gave birth, even though obviously it was a miscarriage and the fetus passed away. However, if she passes something that just looks like a blood clot, and no human features are identifiable, then some scholars consider her bleeding to be istihada, and she has to fast if she is able to. Obviously, she might be experiencing some weakness and she has some ta'ab associated to that, which would allow her to break her fast just like an ill person. But if she isn't, she is allowed to fast. Otherwise, if she has to otherwise, if she cannot because she's ill, then she can break her fast like we mentioned. So the scholars stated that the embryo is considered to start taking shape after 80 days of pregnancy. So before 80 days of pregnancy, it's not really an embryo, there's no human features identifiable. After 80 days, that's when the features of a human become apparent in the fetus. Now, when it comes to the nifas, if a woman becomes clean from nifas before 40 days, she should fast and do ghusl and she can pray. But if the bleeding resumes within 40 days after the birth, she should stop fasting because it is still considered nifas as long as it is within 40 days. If the bleeding continues after the 40th day, then she should make her intention to fast and she should make ghusl and proceed to fast, because then that would be considered istihada beyond the 40th day. Unless it were to coincide with the usual time of her cycle, her period. So maybe the 40 days are done, but it's time for her cycle. And then there's still blood there, then she considers that to be a hayd. Next mas'ala, sorry. A woman who is pregnant or breastfeeding, This is a big khilaf between the scholars about what is upon her. So a woman who breaks her fast because she is either pregnant or breastfeeding. What should she do? Should she make up the fast later on? Should she pay fidya? Should she do nothing? What should she do? Anybody have an idea? What should she do? Should she make up the fast and pay fidya? There's four main opinions, okay? A woman who is pregnant, a woman who breaks her fast because she is pregnant or because she is breastfeeding. Okay, there's four opinions amongst ulama. One of them is that she is considered or treated like the ill person with temporary illness, and she has to make up the fasts at a later date. And this is the majority opinion. Okay, another opinion, that a woman that breaks her fast for this reason, she has to, or she is treated like one who has an ongoing illness with no hope for recovery, or the elder person who cannot fast, and she just has to pay fidya. And there's two narrations mentioned from Sahaba regarding this. And some ulama say she has to do both of them. And some ulama say there's actually nothing mentioned about this. So that being said, she does not have to do anything. Okay, the more correct opinion, wallahu a'lam, is the first opinion, which is the majority opinion, that a woman who breaks her fast due to pregnancy or due to breastfeeding, she is treated like the ill person who has a temporary illness. She makes up the fast at a later date. Because if you were to kind of look at, some people, they hold strong, there is these authentic narrations recorded from some Sahaba, they said that she just pays the fidya. However, if you look at like a typical woman's life, a woman is between, after she reaches maturity, she's married and whatnot, she's usually between cycles of pregnancy and breastfeeding for 2 years, maybe she gets pregnant again, breastfeeding. So if they have lots of children, she can go 10, 15 years, no siyam. Then where's the rukn of Islam? Where's the rukn of siyam? It just disappears? No. So the more correct opinion is that she is treated like the ill person who has a temporary illness, and she makes up the siyam at a later date, and she does not have to pay fidya. Okay. Can a woman who is pregnant or breastfeeding fast? If she does not fear for herself becoming weak or whatnot, or feel for her fetus, then she is allowed to fast. If she fears for herself or her child, then she is allowed to break her fast and make up days later on. If a pregnant woman fasts and experiences bleeding, okay, is her fast valid, or does it mean that her fast is batil? Her fast is valid because a pregnant woman does not experience the menstruation cycle. Okay, while she's pregnant, there is no menstruation. If there's bleeding, it is some other type of bleeding, and her siyam is valid. Okay. The last mas'ala we will take is that a woman, and I don't think this is too common, but it's mentioned by the scholars, so we'll take it here and we'll conclude with this inshallah. In the case of a woman who is obliged to fast and her husband has intercourse with her during the day in Ramadan with her consent, okay, then the ruling applies to him. The same ruling that applies to him we mentioned before, the kafara. If she consents to that as well, okay, it's mutual consent, okay, then the kafara is upon both of them, and they have to both repeat the days, and they have to both make tawbah to Allah. However, if her husband is some type of evil person and is forcing her against her will, she does not want to, she's kind of forcing her, then the ithm is upon him and the kafara is upon him, and he's the one who will hold the wizard of that evil action he did. Okay? Some ulama say that the woman, if she's forced, it's against her will, that she would have to make up the fast to be on the safe side. However, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he says that the more correct opinion that it does not even invalidate the fast, because like we said, they're qaida. If it's a mistake or forgetful or it's forced upon them, then it does not affect them. There's no itham upon them. And a woman that knows that her husband cannot control himself, she should try to keep away from him and not beautify herself during the day in Ramadan as a way to kind of reduce any fitna. Okay? 4 more minutes, inshallah, we will conclude bi'idhnillah before then. So just like we said before, a woman that wants to fast and nothing fast, like a voluntary fast, she has to take her husband's permission. However, if she's making up fasts from Ramadan that she missed, it takes the same hukum as Siyam Ramadan. She does not have to take permission from her husband to do so. Okay? And the same thing applies to her. She began her obligatory fast of making up days of Ramadan that she has missed. It's not permissible for her to break the fast except with a valid reason. And with this, inshallah ta'ala, we will conclude. If anybody has any questions about what we took, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, inshallah, adhan for Isha will be in about 3 minutes. Then Iqamah will be in another 20 minutes, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the best of this month of Ramadan and grant us the ability to worship Him as He loves, Jalla Jalaluh, and to accept from us our fasts and our qiyam. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us in the Muslim Ummah at large victory in every corner of the globe, mainly in Gaza and Palestine, Sham, Sudan, and everywhere where there's Muslims suffering. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us victory in this month, as it is the month of victory in Islam. جزاكم الله خيرا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.